Have you ever been heartbroken? Have you ever wondered why certain things happen to you in your relationships? Have you ever been hurt so bad that sometimes you feel like giving up on dating altogether? Hi, my name is Miguel Santana, owner and director of Santana Filmworks, based out of Los Angeles, California. Join me as we embark on this journey as we look to discover why some of these misfortunes occur in our dating relationships, and as we also look for solutions to some of our dating problems. Let us begin, shall we? Now, people always ask me, Miguel, why do you talk about dating a lot and relationships and give advice and things like that, and you seem to be very very informative, and it seems to be something, a topic that's very important to you? Well, simply because of this. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. The fact that every one of us here came into existence because of a man and a woman. So human life starts with some form of dating, whether it's serious, whether it's casual, in some way, shape, or form. So at the end of the day, what we have to understand is, the dating choices that we make, the people that we that we decide to sleep with and start a relationship with, is going to have a direct impact on our future generations. So we just have to keep in mind and make better dating decisions sometimes. Now, one bit of advice I can give my viewers out there. This is, somewhat of an issue in general, with particularly with the inner city community. A lot of us, we don't date with a purpose. Date with a purpose. When you go to more affluent areas, people that are dating, they want to get to know about the person. What are your plans? What are your future plans and your goals, and where do you see yourself, and how many kids do you plan on having? But when our mission is, finding out if she smokes, if she drinks, and that's the basis of why we're dating and what we're looking to get out of it. We're setting ourselves up for failure. We have to date with a purpose because, again, you don't know what the future holds. You don't want to put yourself in a situation that that's going to, obviously create a circumstance that you have to deal with for the rest of your life. I'm going to give you a quick example. Long time ago, several years ago, when I was in high school, I remember I was visiting family, and there was a family friend that was there, and was speaking to me and my twin brother, and she asked us if we had girlfriends, and we said yes, and she asked us if we see ourselves marrying them, and we looked at her like she was, insane. We was about 16, 17, and she's asking us that, and she said, well, if you don't see yourself marrying her, why are you dating? She had a bit of a point. Not really for a 16, 17-year-old, but it gets to a certain age, when you're 26, 27, you have to start thinking about things like that. Another thing, what we need to understand is, first and foremost, the world's population is about 7.5 billion people in 200 different countries. What sets you apart from the next person? Ladies, you have to understand, the majority of men that you're going to meet in your life are not going to care about you. It's just the reality of it. They want one thing. But what sets you apart? What makes you different? What makes you special and unique from the last one? Because a grown man in his 30s, for example, has encountered hundreds or thousands of women in his life. But if there's that one special someone, that one special person that God has for him, is it you? And if it's not, you can't expect him to care. I say this to say this. First of all, sex isn't everything. The problem is, nowadays, a lot of these relationships are basically, based on the person you have sex with the most. Okay? But what we need to understand, again, when you go somewhere, like let's say CVS or Walgreens, and you go down, let's say aisle 11, aisle 12, and go buy some condoms or something of that nature, lube. They tend to be in the family planning section. There's a reason for that. We have to be a little bit more careful and start taking dating serious, because, again, every one of us here are here because of dating. Another quick example. When I was in my early 20s and I was living in Atlanta, again, like I said, I have a twin brother. There was a popular R&B group, Jagged Edge. In that group, there was two identical twins in that group that me and my brother knew personally, Brian and Brandon Casey. They used to tell us all the time. We would see them around Atlanta, we would see them at clubs and things like that. They would always tell us, you guys are twins. You guys should take advantage of that. Use that to your advantage, because you being twins sets you apart from these other guys. So with that same token, what we have to start to understand is, ladies, if you slept with guy A, B, and C, and they all gave you the D, what gives you more value than the next lady, if the next lady does the same thing? You see what I'm trying to say? Again, I'm not telling people how to live their lives and what to do. We're all adults. How you want to live your life is all, is up to you. But you have to understand, your lifestyles and your choices and your actions is going to dictate others' perception of you. Okay? Also, the problem with dating is become too much of a game. Too much of a guessing game. Like I was saying, there was a lady that told me, oh, don't let a girl know that you like her, and let her guess, let her wonder. Folks, again, dating isn't a game unless you're really actually on a dating game show. Okay? So, what I'm trying to say is, if someone has to guess and try to figure out if he's interested, if he wants you, then he probably doesn't. Because again, actions speak louder than words, and by someone's actions, it should tell you a lot about how they feel and what they're trying to get out of the relationship. One more quick example. Again, back when I was in Atlanta, there was a gentleman, he was an OG, he was a coach, a mentor, all of that. I remember one day I was having a conversation with him, and he said, a lot of these relationships nowadays, they fail because two people are raising a child together and they don't even know each other. You're raising a family. Two strangers are raising a family. Why? Because, again, it goes back to what I was saying before. Do you smoke? Do you drink? A lot of times now, we just go out to the club, we see a girl, she has a nice body, and in our mind, we just have one intention, and you go and you spit your game and you say what you have to say, and get to know her, have a few drinks, do what you have to do, and it carries on from there. And then you find yourself in a relationship with someone based on sex. You don't know anything about them, you don't know their habits, you don't know anything about their past, you don't know what their future plans are. You have two different lifestyles, two different upbringings, and now you bring a child into this world that, again, wasn't planned. And now you find yourself in a situation, you find yourself in a predicament where one person wants to go left and one person wants to go right. One person wants blue, one person wants red. And that creates a problem because we didn't sit and plan it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about with the viewers out there is terminology. You see, in dating, when we start using words like this chick that I'm fucking with, this guy that I'm dealing with, or my main chick, the side chick, again, we're setting ourselves up for failure. You have to ask yourself, as far as dealing, for example, let's say you have a stomach ache that you've been dealing with for the past week. Is that a good thing? So if you're talking about someone that you've been dealing with, is that a good thing? Is it someone who's, BS you've been putting up with? And if so, why? Now, let me give you folks another thing to think about quickly. Now, for example, when I was about 13 years old, I remember we started using terms like spitting game and macking to chicks and things like that. And I remember one day, my parents asked me and my brother, what exactly is that? What does that mean? And I remember the answer I gave to my mom, gave her a puzzle, like she had a puzzled look on her face. She was baffled by it, because what I told her was, macking is making a girl like you. In essence, it's somewhat true. But you see, that's what courtship is. But I guess I used it in the wrong sense. But then I did kind of edit what I was saying. I said, well, not really making someone like, but I guess kind of getting someone to. But what I'm trying to say is, what is courtship? Courtship, again, is basically, again, in a sense, convincing someone to want to be with you. But you have to ask yourself, what exactly is your purpose? What is your intention? Is your intention ultimately marriage? Is that ultimately your goal? Or do you just want to horse around and play games? Now, the next thing I want to talk to you folks about are turn-offs and turn-ons. Now, I'm not in any way telling someone, telling a woman, how to feel or, what to be attracted to, so to speak. But I just want you folks to think about something for a second. Now, let's say there's a guy that's, well-to-do, attractive, hardworking, educated, stays out of trouble. One woman might see that and say, he's boring. That's not my type. I just see him as a friend. But another woman might hop all over him and say, I gotta marry this one. So, a lot of times, what you might think works for you might actually be working against you. Sometimes the reason why you're single is because of what you're going for. You have to ask yourself, let's say for example you have a best friend that's happily married and 3 kids, nice house, white picket fence, a cat and a dog. Ask her, what is it that she saw in him? It might not be the same things that you look for in a man. Because some women say, I want a hood nigga. Well, if you dated 4 or 5 of them and they left you with 4 or 5 kids, not to disrespect anyone, and now they're fatherless and you're bitter and you're angry, that's probably not what you need. That's probably not what should turn you on. So we have to start asking ourselves, what are we looking for in a relationship? What should interest us? Because ladies, remember, that man that could be turning you on might not be able to keep the lights turned on. Okay? So, some women might see a man, for example, again, back on the well-to-do guy. Again, let's say a woman sees that and say, oh wow, he has money, I'm going to use him. I want to be with him because he's a doctor, he's a lawyer. I just want to date him for his money. Another woman can see that and say, wow, this guy is financially stable. He has a head on his shoulders. That's a potential suitable partner. It's how you look at things. Now, a bit of advice I can give, especially my ladies out there. Pick your battles. Okay. A lot of times, we might find ourselves in a relationship with someone that doesn't deserve us, right? And we try to justify being with them. I've met women that have been in relationships with men for, let's say, 5, 6, 10, 20 years, or whatever the case is, and they say, oh, he used to cheat on me constantly, he used to do this, he used to do that, but he used to pay the bills, but he had money. And they try to justify those actions and tolerate his infidelity. Well, the cause of that, one major cause of this misfortune is basically, let's just put it this way, fantasy versus reality. What a lot of women tend to do nowadays, okay? And again, I don't want anyone to take any offense to it, or I'm not taking any shots or anything, but it's just an observation, and it's a fact that a lot of women tend to, let's say, go after a guy, pursue a guy, say this is the guy they want, and they put this expectation in their mind that this is the man that they want, this is the man that they want to have kids with, but they never discussed it with him. He never promised anything. He never said that he wanted to be with them. He just saw convenience. But she has her mind made up and says, this is the man I want a future with. He never said he wanted a future with you. So now you have this fantasy in your mind. Then you want to give him a child and think that's going to make him stay around. He's going to stick around because you have a kid with him now. Then you say, oh, I'm just going to have more kids with him. Maybe now he'll fall for him. Maybe now he'll commit and he'll ask me to marry him. But the reality of it is, he probably just saw you for sex. He got what he wanted. Now he doesn't want you anymore because, again, he got what he wanted. And he can get the sex from someone else. Because I said before, at the end of the day, there's 7.5 billion people in this world. There's nothing biologically that makes any female different from the next female in the history and the future of the world. But there's got to be something that you have, something special, unique, that sets you apart. And if you don't have that, then a man is not going to see any value in you. It's just convenience. Let's say, for example, if you were driving down the street and you drove by a fast food restaurant and they said, free fries for everyone. You're going to say, what the heck, I'm just going to go in and get some free fries. You don't even have to like fries. But just the fact that it's free, you're not going to say no. You're not going to turn it down. So ladies, understand that. See, men, you see, it's a double standard. Women are geared to turn down sex. Men aren't. See, women have sex because they want. Men have sex because they can. Okay, so you can want to have sex with that man. But the fact that you're allowing him to have sex, he's going to do it. But in the back of his mind, that's probably all he wants. But in your mind, what you want is a family. But all he wants is sex. But there was never that communication. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier, where a lot of people think that what you're supposed to do is just go with the flow and take it slow and play guessing games. Well, you're going to guess that he wants to be with you, and he's just going to go along with it because you're giving him free fries, and he's not going to say no, if you know what I'm talking about. Now, the next thing I want to discuss is wants versus needs. There's obviously a clear difference between something that you want and something that you need. A lot of times you might, ladies, you might be with a man that you think you need, you think you love, but you just want him. You just have this sexual lust for him that you think is love, and you think he loves you by his actions because he gives you money to get your nails done, or he bought bottles at the club when you met him, and you think that means he wants to be with you. But that means he just wants sex, probably, for the most part. But again, back on wants versus needs. Now, let me just give a quick example. I remember back in around 93, okay? I was about 6 years old, so I'm pretty much revealing my age. There was something that was very popular called Pogs that a lot of us kids wanted to play with. That was very popular, we all wanted it, okay? Back around 99, 98, 99, everyone wanted Pokemon cards. Okay? Back in around 2005, everyone wanted, that was the style. We wanted all that Japanese clothing, the Vizus and bathing apes and all that stuff. See, we wanted it then, but we don't want it now, because wants are interchangeable. Needs don't change. Because see, back in 93 and 99 and 2005, I needed shelter. And I needed clothes. And I needed food to eat. That never changed. The wants changed. So ask yourself, is that a man that you want, or is that a man that you need? And more importantly, does he even need you? Or does he even want you? Now, here's another quick example. Let's say I just really, really have a craving for some donuts, or some candy, or some cake, or some sweets. It tastes good, I really like it, I really want some. But let's say my health doesn't really permit me to do so. Why would I do it? Because it tastes good, right? It's good now, but down the line, it's going to hurt you, right? But I can say broccoli and spinach and celery and all that stuff is boring. It's healthy. It might not taste good now. It might be boring now. That relationship might be boring now, so to speak. That man could, quote, be boring, but down the line, it's going to be more beneficial. And that's what we have to start thinking of. People, we think too much in the now and not the later. Now, in any relationship, there are going to be ups and downs, right? There are going to be trials and tribulations. But what is worth fighting for? Are you fighting for a man that wants you, or a man that values you, a man that cherishes you, a man that wants you and only you? See, because there's a difference between want and value. See, you can want someone. See, I want her because she has a nice body. But do you value her? Do you value her in a sense where you care about her well-being, her safety, her health, her thoughts and opinions, and her goals and her aspirations, and are you willing to help her get there? So ladies, that's what you have to ask yourself when it comes to looking for the right partner. Those are some of key ingredients that we tend to overlook. Now, let's make another quick analogy. Let's say you want to go to the gym, you want to work out, and you want to get a six-pack, you want a great body. It's going to take time, it's going to take effort, it's going to take energy. It's going to be tough, it's not going to be easy. But the end result makes it worthwhile. Because if the ultimate goal is physical fitness, then you're going to work to get there. So if the ultimate goal is the altar, then both parties are going to work to get there. But if his ultimate goal was just sex, then he's not going to fight to keep something that he didn't even fight to get. Because if all he did was just woo you with game and just flattery, things of that nature, and he only had one thing in mind, then you're replaceable. You're irrelevant, really, at the end of the day. And that's one reason why there's a lot of infidelity. It's because there's a lack of value. A lot of men, not to, call people out and things like that, but a lot of us, we feel this entitlement, so to speak, to say, okay, that's my woman, because it's a sense of ownership, in a sense of belonging. But we're just complacent with a woman that tolerates our nonsense, and we're complacent with having her, but again, we're not satisfied. There's the difference between being complacent and being satisfied. We're not satisfied, and that's why we look for other sexual partners elsewhere. But ladies, again, is that something worth tolerating? Is that something worth fighting for? Because is his ultimate goal marriage? did you ask him that? Or is it, again, back on what we were discussing earlier? Is it just a fantasy that you have in your head because you're just so attracted to his dark skin or his dreadlocks or his eyes or whatever it may be? He's just your man crush Monday. But is it a reality? Or is it just a fantasy in your head that he never promised? Let's start asking ourselves that. Now, I've had conversations with women that have told me, that they're tired of men that pretend to be a nice guy, and they thought they were a good man, and they show their true colors, and they're just sick of it, and how can you tell the difference, and why men are this and why and men are that? Well, the only thing I can say to that is he probably was a douchebag, a knucklehead, or whatever you want to call it, all along. You just didn't know it. You have to educate yourself in knowing the difference between, again, pure intentions and bad intentions. Think about his actions, what he says, what he does, instead of translating it into what you want it to be. For example, let's say there's a group of people speaking German. In your mind, you think they're speaking Dutch. But the fact that you think that they're speaking Dutch and you're convinced that they're speaking Dutch doesn't change the fact that they're speaking German all along. Just learn how to speak Dutch. You see what I mean? So the point is, just learn the difference between a good man and a bad man. Because at the end of the day, it's contrary to popular belief. And this is a myth. A lot of women think that, men, pretend to be a good person and then they show their true colors. No. He's going to let you know from the jump who he really is. It's just up to you. Again, it's just up to you to figure out what it is. He's telling you what he is. Now, to piggyback on what I was just saying, you can think that he was a good man and that he meant well because he was smooth, right? He was telling you all the right things. But understand that the difference between a douchebag, for lack of better terms, and a real man, a douchebag will tell you what you want to hear. A real man will tell you what you need to hear. You see, for example, he might, know all the right buttons to press, right? To excite you, to intrigue you, to sound fun, so to speak. But understand that, first of all, dating is not about fun. Dating is something serious. If you want fun, go to an amusement park. But anyway, that good-for-nothing guy, so to speak, he's going to tell you what you want to hear, okay? But the real man, he's going to tell you what you need to hear. Here's a few examples of what I mean. First of all, he's gonna ask you to marry him one day. He's gonna let you know that he loves you. Let's say, there's a situation that arises, let's say with your health or something like that, and he shows concern and says, babe, I think you shouldn't keep doing this, or you shouldn't keep saying this, or you shouldn't keep going here. Out of respect and out of care, he's gonna tell you what you need to hear. A key way to know if someone means what they say or not, I tell people this all the time. There's a difference between saying something that comes from here as opposed to saying something that comes from here. Quick example, I have a cousin of mine who recently got engaged. Congratulations to my cousin. In New York, she got engaged not too long ago. Now, as her boyfriend was proposing to her, the things that he was saying, the message that he was sending, what he was talking about were things that only the two of them can relate to. Because he was speaking of a connection, of a bond that they have together. Something that he doesn't have with anyone else. The words that he spoke, he can't just copy and paste and say that to the next girl, because the next person can't relate to what he's saying. So what I'm saying is, anyone can say you're beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful women. That's not a hard thing to think about as far as telling someone they're beautiful. Just a small, mediocre example. But let's say, for example, you wrote a song that came from your heart. Words that meant something to you, that only that one special person who that song is directed to can relate to. That means it's genuine. Let's say if you said something, like, can't help the way I feel about you, or something like that, and just wrote a song, then that's something that came from here, as opposed to, spitting game, talking shit, for lack of better terms. So, ladies, try to learn to identify if what he's telling you, he can say to the next girl, or if it's something that he can only direct towards you. I'm going to give a quick example. A few years ago, a couple of us, we were hanging out. Again, I'm not trying to, put guys on blast or anything like that. But just a quick example. There was a couple of us guys who all went out to this nightclub. And after the club, we was all hanging out. It was across the street at the gas station. And to make a long story short, these two gentlemen approached us. And we started hanging out. We started, just conversating and fraternizing with the two gentlemen. They were cool guys. And a car pulled up full of ladies. One of them, he was, let's say he's the head honcho. We basically huddled and he said, all right, here's the story. This is what we're going to say. He made up some bogus story about, let's say he's, a famous photographer in San Diego or something, visiting in town. I don't remember exactly what he said. So he goes to the car, he goes up to one of the ladies, starts talking to her, she goes inside, he goes inside with her, he's talking to her and all of this. Then they leave, they come outside, she goes in the car, they drive off, and he had her number, and he was just like, yeah, he was, continuing to discuss. As they pulled out, another car pulled up, another young lady came. He literally turned around, walked to the car, and told that lady the exact same game that he spit to the last girl 2 minutes prior. Because it didn't come from here. It came from here. It was something that we brainstormed together. It wasn't something, he wasn't sharing something that was emotional, that comes from here, something that only the two of them can relate to, that only the two of them can understand. So think about that for a second. Now, a question that a lot of women tend to ask is, how do I know when to look for a man, when to pursue a man? The honest answer is never. Ladies, you have to stop looking for love and let love find you. Okay? Let Mr. Right find you. Another thing that women always say is, how to win a man's heart. Again, you don't. It's the man's job to win your heart. Here's why. First and foremost, at the end of the day, it's the man's job to propose, right? So it's the man's job to ask for a woman's hand in marriage. It's the man's job to ask the woman to spend the rest of her life with him. It's because the woman was made for the man and not the man for the woman. See, when God created Adam, he made Eve from his rib. So that's why it's the man's job to find the woman that will complete him. So what it comes down to is the art of courtship. And we've, as a society, we've forgotten the basic rules of courtship. There's roles. We've forgotten, and we tend to shy away from our roles. See, what we have to understand is, for example, the U.S. government. There's a There's an executive branch, there's a judicial branch, there's a legislative branch. They all have their different roles and different functions. But when they work together and they do their job and they do their roles, you get democracy. You get a country like the United States, a free democracy. When you have, let's say, for example, a successful sports franchise, the reason why they're successful and they win these championships and they go on these runs is because everyone has their roles, they know their roles, and they go about it accordingly. That's how you get a well-oiled machine, a fine-tuned machine. So what we have to understand is it's not the woman's role to pursue a man. It's the man's role. That's why we're hunters. That's why you see, you go to the club and men will approach women, generally, for the most part. Again, I'm not in any way saying never, ever, ever, ever chase a man. But understand that that's not your role and that's not the way it was designed. Because what we have to understand is we were all born a certain way. We're all born the same way. We're all going to die the same way. What I mean is when we die, we're all going to, end up the same way beneath the earth. So, hypothetically speaking, shouldn't there be a uniform way as far as how we date? See, ladies, what you have to understand is, first of all, again, when a man proposes, like I said, he's asking for you to spend the rest of your life with him and not the other way around. So it doesn't make any sense. Let's say if a woman was pursuing a man, how do you pursue a man for him to turn around, ask you to marry him? Like I said earlier, spitting game, so to speak, like what we used to say, and macking is basically convincing a girl to want to be with you, hypothetically speaking. So what sense does it make for a woman to convince a man to convince her to marry him? You see what I'm trying to say? That's doing the opposite. So let's look at it this way, in a silly sense, but think about it for a second. Let's look at like the animal kingdom. Let's say if you watch the Nature Channel or Animal Planet, and they'll talk about mating season, about, I don't know, gazelles or penguins or whatever whatever it is, what have you. They have a specific way they go about it, the way they mate. It's always the same thing. It's the same idea. Is that the male penguin or gazelle or zebra or whatever it is, they go after the woman, they pursue them, they try to impress them, and they fight each other, and they fight to the finish. And the one that wins, the one that conquers, the one that's victorious, is the one she chooses. So understand, it's the man's role to pursue, and it's the woman's role to decide if this is the right man that's pursuing her. Understand that back in the 50s and the 60s and the olden days, there wasn't as much of a divorce problem or single mother problem as there is now, because we're shying away from roles. Now, to piggyback on what I was just talking about, again, I'm going to reiterate, ladies, I'm not in any way saying never, ever, ever, ever approach a man. What I'm saying is, when you do so, you put yourself at a higher risk. Here's why. Let's paint another picture. I have another analogy. Okay, we're on a roll now. So, let's say you're at a club, and there's a group of ladies night out, just doing their thing, single ladies partying. They're on the dance floor. A group of guys approach them, try to talk to them, try to dance. They're going to shut them down, they can push them, shove them, whatever. Say, no, I'm not interested. Because women are geared to reject men. Men are not geared to turn down women and reject women. Because, let's say, for example, again, same group of guys at the club, hanging out, guys night out, a group of women approach them. They might not have any interest in them, might not even be attracted to these women. But, hey, what the heck? They're offering it, we're just going to take it, if you know what I'm talking about. So my point is, when you approach a man and you pursue a man, ask yourself, is that feeling mutual? Is that interest mutual? Or is he just going with the flow? because he's just gonna go with it. He's just gonna go along with it and take it as far as it's gonna go. And when he's sick of you and he's tired of you, he's gonna look for an excuse to get rid of you, or he's just gonna cheat on you, or what have you. But what I'm saying is, again, it could work, but understand that you just put yourself at a higher risk and you make yourself vulnerable. So, and at the end of the day, that's not the woman's role. It's the man's role. That's why the man gets down on one knee and proposes. Because if women want to go and pursue a man and chase after a man and court a man, then you might as well take him out. You pay for dinner, you hold the doors, you be a gentlewoman, okay? And you propose to him down the line. But that's not the way it works, because again, like I said, at the end of the day, it's the man's job to find that missing piece. It's the man's job to find his Eve to his Adam, the Eve to his Adam. That's the way it was designed. But when we shy away from that, that's when we find ourselves in catastrophic situations that are becoming more and more habitual in today's society, that is pretty much becoming normal. And that's something that, again, I strongly oppose, and I really would like to, see a change. Now, to prove my point, as far as roles and the way things were designed, think about what I'm about to say. Now, there's a saying that, when a man is, when he's with a woman, that she becomes his weakness and he becomes her strength. And that's called an exchange of power. So, understand this. First of all, beside every strong man, there's a strong woman. Name a successful person. Let's say a successful athlete. You see a lot of times, you see a successful athlete, they have a great woman by their side that's supported them, that's been there for them since day one, high school sweetheart, whatever the case is. That woman, that emotional support. Because she's his strength. She uplifts him. But you see, when a man falls in love, he becomes weak. It's scientifically proven. So understand, ladies, a lot of times, you might think a guy is turning soft. He just has a soft spot for you. It's because his love for you makes him weak, but you make him strong. And that's called an exchange of power. It's a balance of power, and that's when a man and a woman becomes one. Now, another bit of advice that I can give to all my viewers out there is, when you're interested in someone, or your intention is to date that person, be friends with them first. Get to know the person. See what they're about. Because when you're friends with someone, you can be yourself. And also your true colors will show. Their true colors will show. So you know exactly what you're dealing with down the line. And also, when you're friends with someone, obviously they care about you, right? So let's say, for example, you were stranded in the middle of nowhere. It's late at night. If you ask a random stranger to help you, they want to be as willing to help you as your best friend. It could be 3 a.m, they're already in bed, and they're quick to help you because they're your best friend. So if you're friends with someone and down the line you end up in a relationship with them, it can translate into that. They will care about you. They'll be more willing to do things for you, as opposed to a lot of times women say, oh, he would have never done that for me. It's because he never cared about you. You were never relevant to him. It was just convenience. But a lot of times, women will say, oh, he's too boring, or he came at me too soft. He should have been more aggressive. He should have been like, yo, man, da-da-da. But if you're more of a gentleman, that's actually better in the long run. So, again, be friends first. I truly believe that it can definitely go a long way. Now, let me introduce you all to something called the 5 love languages. They are words of affirmation, physical touch, quality time, acts of service, and receiving gifts. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about these because they're pretty much self-explanatory. But the only thing I can say is, if your partner isn't providing one, I would say at least 3 or maybe 4 out of the 5, then that's something you need to reevaluate. Because, for example, quality time, that's self-explanatory. If someone has value to you and is meaningful to you, then you will spend time with them to grow, because that's the only way you will grow with someone and learn, is spending quality time. Words of affirmation, making someone feel better if they're having a bad day. Don't tell your wife that she's fat, things like that. If someone is hurt or they're down, brighten up their day with something positive and cheer them up. Receiving gifts, self-explanatory. Valentine's Day, Christmas, things like that, birthdays. Just showing them that they matter to you and that you're thinking of them. And physical touch, obviously, that goes without saying. Kissing, caressing, things like that. And last but not least, acts of service. Doing things for others. It's almost like, let's say, volunteering, so to speak. You're doing something because it's important to you, so to speak. Even just something as simple as taking out the trash for your wife, or just something, as simple as a massage. Who knows? Things like that. Those are the 5 love languages. Be on the lookout for those. Look for those keys and those signs, and see how everything else falls into place, and see how everything else goes. Now, let me paint a quick picture for you all. Now, let's say, for example, I was a superstar basketball player. Okay, I was the best of the best. I have so much potential and so much talent, and I have a bright future. Now, let's say I went and I tried out for the basketball team at my high school. Okay, went, tried out, showed off my skills, played a quick game, quick 5-on-5. I dropped 80 points, 25 rebounds, 20 assists, 10 steals, 8 blocks. How much sense would it make if the coach turned around and said, "I'm sorry, son, there's just no place for you on this team"? Another quick question. If you never tried Vietnamese food before, for example, how would you know you don't like it? Think about that for a second. Another quick question. Let's say you were an employer, right? And you were looking for staff. Okay, you're the manager and you're conducting interviews. Let's say you interview an individual and they were 30 minutes late to the interview, and they slept through the whole interview and they weren't even paying any attention. They showed a lack of interest. First of all, would you hire that individual? How much sense would that make to offer them a position? And second of all, more importantly, what would make you think that their behavior would improve while working there? So the point I'm trying to get at is, you can't change someone. Okay? See, of all, you have to, and the other thing I'm trying to say is, you have to have enough sense to see when something good is in front of you, when a good opportunity is in front of you. See when there's potential. And again, don't just jump to conclusions and say, no, I don't see you that way, I'm not interested, it will never work. You don't know until you try. And like I said, you cannot change someone. And that's one of my biggest problems. That's one of the biggest problems. That's one of the biggest pet peeves, because a lot of women, for some reason, they say that good guys or nice guys are boring. But they want to turn a bad boy into a nice guy. But wouldn't that make him boring now then? So remember, folks, in a relationship, there's a lot of key important ingredients and components that we really need to, not take for granted. There's a lot of things that you need to make it work, a lot of important factors that we shouldn't overlook, and also even the little things. Look for the little things, the intangibles, the good morning texts and how was your day, little simple things like that. But more importantly, ladies, if a man isn't ready for a serious relationship, don't force him to be. Don't try to convince him to be. Don't try to convince him to commit. Because you know what? He might just not be ready to retire from the game. Now, a lot of women ask, how do you know when a man is really interested or not? How do you know when he genuinely has interest in you? The answer is pretty simple. Actions speak louder than words. So he can woo you and say all these nice things to you and say all the things you want to hear, but if he doesn't actually put the time and the effort and shows you that by his actions, that means he doesn't mean it. He's just all talk. So how do you know if a man is in it to win it or just in it to hit it and quit it? Again, like I said, it's by his actions, it's what he does. Because if he's not calling you every day and not texting you every day, it's because he's calling someone else and texting someone else. So it's okay if he calls you every day. Because women have even said, oh, don't show a woman that you like her, don't sweat her too much. Oh, that's being soft. That's not being soft, that's having emotion, which is actually a good thing. Because that means you actually genuinely care. There's a difference between being emotional and having emotion. So understand that, ladies. Understand that if he actually has interest in you, he'll put the time and the work and the energy. Because if he doesn't do that, if he's just being cool about it and not even trying, it's because it's just not something that he is committed to. And that goes with anything in life, really. Anything, any aspect. So it's no different in dating. So let me just say this again, ladies. Please, stop giving your heart to the wrong men. To men that don't deserve you, men that don't love you, and men that didn't even work to earn you. Because he doesn't care and he's not going to fight to keep you. He's willing to let you go. Understand that the reality of it is, to be brutally honest, most guys are just dogs and will just say whatever to get in the panties. It's just a matter of who's dumb enough to fall for his game. People do things in general because they know they can get away with it in other aspects of life also. So understand that. So a guy is just going to be a dog and treat you like, and mistreat you, treat you like, because he knows he can do it and knows that there's nothing you're going to do about it. So again, if he doesn't deserve you, don't give your heart to him. Now, at the end of the day, folks, life is all about choices. So choose wisely. It's all about decisions. Remember that every decision we make is going to directly impact our future. See, sometimes in life, you might meet the right person at the wrong time. But you might also meet the wrong person at the right time. Here's what I mean by that. Now, sometimes, someone is so gung-ho about finding love and finding the right person that they'll settle for less, that they'll take the next person that comes and talks to them and just completely disregard all their intentions and everything that they, that they plan to do, so to speak. So that's basically finding the wrong person at the right time. Just because you're ready for a relationship or you're looking for love, that doesn't mean that you found the right person. But sometimes, again, you might find the right person, but you're not yet ready for love. Maybe you're in the midst of finding yourself or discovering yourself. Sometimes, you could be, not be ready for love. But you have to ask yourself, you can be, and focus on yourself and trying to find yourself. But it's all good and well, but what happens when you are ready for a relationship? Do you still know what the right person is? Do you still know who that is? Do you still know how to identify that? See, understand that sometimes good things come when you're not looking for it. Sometimes things happen when you're not, when you least expect it. And at the end of the day, no one wants to be alone. No one is better off by themselves. It's just a matter of finding the right person. Because the wrong person might make you feel otherwise, that, you shouldn't be with anyone, or you're happy by yourself. You just want to be, you just want the single life and single forever. It's just a matter of, again, finding the right person. But that wrong person might just block you from your blessing. So to reiterate, remember, sometimes good things happen when you least expect it. Okay? Thank you. Appreciate it. So anyway, let's make an example. For example, let's say you were applying for a job, and you really wanted this job. Let's say you applied for another job also, but you don't really want that job. But the job that you really want just won't call you, won't hire you. But then the other one calls you. Are you going to sit around and wait for the job that you're really looking for? Or are you just going to maybe give this one a chance? Maybe this is the right job for you. So my point is, sometimes it's not what you're looking for, but what's looking for you. And another important factor that we need to understand, another problem when it comes to dating, a lot of times we take bad advice from our friends and from other people. We have all these negative influences. For example, let's say a guy gets his heart broken, and then this guy says, "Oh, never mind, keep it moving, this, that," but no one really listens, and no one really wants to help. They might hurt the situation. Or even with ladies, you might be in a relationship with a man and he's doing you dirty, and he's doing this and he's doing that, and your friends say, "Oh, well, have sex with him more, or do this, or change that, or do this more often," and that might not be the case. So stop getting advice from the wrong people, because a lot of times we're getting advice from people that are bitter themselves and probably don't even want to see you happy. And a lot of times we're getting advice from people that are probably in the same situation, same predicament that we are. So if let's say you're married and you're in a tough relationship, well, don't get advice from someone that's single or someone that's out and about. Get advice from someone who's happily married, that can lead you in the right direction. Get advice from, for example, women. Doesn't it make more sense to get guy advice from a guy? Understand that men and women, we think differently. So a lot of times women might act according to how a woman might respond to a situation, and not realize that what they're doing is probably hurting the situation, because the man is looking at it from a man's perspective. You see what I'm trying to say? So if you get advice from a man, let's say from an older brother, a cousin, uncle, father, whoever, that might help the situation a little better, because who else is going to better understand a man than a man? Am I right? Am I right? So folks, let us keep in mind that the reality of it is good people in general are hard to find. Someone that fits you in every way, shape, or form is very difficult. We have to understand that as far as dating, we can't just look at one aspect, but look at it all in a broader spectrum. Look at all aspects and various factors, because it's all important, as far as lifestyle, goals, upbringing, even appearance, attraction, all of it, conversation, chemistry, even compatibility, and even how good they are in the bedroom. Everything is important and are all key components in a relationship. But I can't stress it enough. I'll say this over and over again. Be with someone that values you. Especially to my ladies out there. Know your worth. Don't tolerate anything less. There's no such thing as perfection, but you deserve the best of the best. Just, again, know your worth and know that God has a plan for you. Just remember that. And also, we have to understand that in a household, in a relationship, again, there's roles. The man at the end of the day is the head of the household, but the man is not at the top. God is at the top. So let God guide you and let God lead. And you'll find yourself in a very positive situation with a very solid foundation. So, and also to add to what I just said about, as far as what to look for, be with someone that uplifts you and stimulates you, that encourages you to do better. Someone that, again, it stimulates your mind. Someone that prays with you and prays for you and wants to build a relationship with God with you. Some people, might find that to be irrelevant or what have you, but it's very important. Believe you me, it's very important to look at those factors. So ladies, my advice to you is be with a man that wants to build with you like a carpenter, lead you like a tour guide, take care of you like a doctor, and love you like no other. And also, be with a man that will protect you like a bodyguard. Now, in conclusion, I just want to say I hope that this message today, this journey that we was on, hope it inspired you, hope it influenced, I hope it encouraged, hope it enlightened you. Hope my viewers out there learned something from it, and hopefully you implement it in your current and future relationships. Feel free to reach out to me on my social media. All the links are at the bottom of the screen. And if you have any questions, comments, and concerns, feel free to reach out to me. But today's journey was more geared towards the women. But my next segment will be more, geared more towards the men. So be on the lookout for that. And again, thank you to all my viewers. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope you enjoyed it. And God bless.